Hi everyone, welcome to Gallop Solutions webinar today on migrating to LeanFT, knowing your switching costs, challenges and options right before your eyes. My name is Sairam Vedam. I run the global marketing at Gallop Solutions. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you once again and also introduce Gallop. Gallop Solutions is a 10-year-old US-based co-located independent software testing specialist company, also specializing in QA staffing services. With offices in Pennsylvania and California, Gallop services are backed by proprietary testing IP, enterprise test acceleration suite for enhanced productivity and in-house R&D teams. Gallop is a 100% subsidiary of Signity Technologies Limited, the world's third largest independent software testing services company. World's leading organizations have relied on Gallup's software testing services for more than a decade and have achieved significant market acceleration, returns on investments in their software quality initiatives. Gallop constantly innovates and invests in R&D around software testing and contributes immensely to the software testing community by demonstrating thought leadership, producing successful white papers and webinars and insightful technical blogs. This particular webinar is the 8th one in the series of Gallop webinars under the Right Before Your Eyes theme. Our earlier webinars were on diverse areas of software testing. Today, we're very happy and excited to be bringing this in front of you. HP recently built the LeanFT from the ground up to address the growing modern automation demands of continuous testing, mobile and DevOps. HP's LeanFT allows software developers and testers to leverage continuous testing, continuous delivery methodologies to rapidly build, test and deliver secure and high quality applications. Gallop has a strategic partnership with HP and has rich legacy of producing world-class IP for test automation migration solutions, working very closely with HP's teams. In cohesion with HP's product management and R&D teams, Gallop has successfully launched QuickLean, the world's first automated migration solution to migrate test assets from HP UFT to LeanFT. Without delaying further, let me take a moment to introduce the speaker for the day. Rajesh Sarangapani leads the Technology Center of Excellence at Gallop and has been instrumental over the last 17 years in helping enterprise clients implement processes that have helped them build application performance by design rather than an afterthought. He also holds a couple of patents to have his name in the testing space and is working on the third one right now as the architect's QuickLean. Without any further delay, let me pass it over to Rajesh, who will briefly go the agenda of the webinar. Before that, I could take this opportunity to have explain you the agenda. What Rajesh would be covering is a bit about LeanFT, why should someone migrate to LeanFT, and of course the theme of today's webinar is all about knowing the switching costs, associated challenges and options. We would then run you through a quick overview about QuickLean, its value proposition, most importantly test assets migration journey, and how do you actually realize the return on investment using QuickLean, some of the early successes that we have been realizing with live case study topics that we would like to present, and finally how does actually QuickLean work. With that as the agenda, I would also like you to post a small question or a poll that I would request all of you to take 15 seconds of your time and answer it on the right hand side of your screen. So the question that we wanted to put across for making this even more interactive is, which development methodology does your team adopt? Is it Agile, DevOps or Waterfall? Once you're done with the poll, we will do a 15-second timer and then Rajesh will take over. Thank you very much. Rajesh?
Yeah. So I think thanks, Sairam. Yeah, we did get the options. I think Agile was the most predominant. More than 50% and 20% are adopting DevOps and Waterfall, the rest. So that's a good start in terms of the audience whom we have and apt for from a tool standpoint. Can you go to the slide, please? So what I will do for the next 25-30 minutes is to briefly introduce about LeanFT. Of course, you would have got introduced to LeanFT in HP webinars, but it will help you to, for those of you who are new to this, it will help you to understand. So LeanFT is a new functional testing tool which is powerful yet lightweight, and it promises to seamlessly integrate with the current developer IDEs like the sorts of Visual Studio and Eclipse. What this will allow you to do is integrate your dev, test, and ops teams probably much collaboratively, reuse their test assets, which wouldn't have been possible before, and also with the intent to do a lot of agile and increase test automation coverage across the life cycle, and with your objectives like continuous integration, continuous deployment, and testing. This will be a tool of choice probably as it's getting rolled out. The other thing, we have worked closely with HP, so we understand it has still retained the best practices or the best techniques which were part of the previous platform, which is UFT, and specifically around the concepts of test objects and descriptions, object identification, object management. So that's going to be definitive advantage when you compare with the current tool set, which is very prominent in the world of Agile. So that being said, it will definitely have the best of the worlds, where you could have your test assets reused, as well as managing objects, which is going to influence how your test script is being created, reused, and maintained. So that's a little bit about LeanFT. If you could go to the next slide, please. We'll talk about the drivers for LeanFT. So why should you migrate? We think there are multiple drivers, but the key ones being the methodology and process you are currently adopting, the application architecture, and the test architecture. Let us deep dive into some of these. If your teams are adopting Agile and DevOps practices, probably this is one of the tools which you would love to have in your armory, and so that your test assets are reused across dev and test. You would possess the ability to do a lot of test automation and increase test automation coverage across the stack, and also integrate with your continuous integrated tools and BDD frameworks, which are very prominent in the Agile world. My favorite one is the application architecture. So if you would want to test multiple layers and also integrate across layers, this is going to be one such tool which will allow you to do that. This is from my own stable of stories, where we were reviewing for one of our clients, where the solution they were trying to build was a trading system, and the trading system has a rich client, and they wanted to have an integrated automated test suite, and some of the layers were services, some of them were REST calls, proprietary API calls, and there were also a GUI on top of all of these layers. So if the need of the hour was to have just one tool do all of this, it was not a possibility. The developers created their own framework to call the REST and then the proprietary APIs. The test automation engineers used UFT to drive the GUI tests, but to just integrate all of this was a nightmare. But with the introduction of LeanFT, probably this is going to be much easier done and integrated, so that the test suites are all integrated and running in an automated way in terms of the overall coverage. And also it helps you to reuse some of the test assets which have been created by the developers. If you have to create like 10,000 trades in one go, probably just use the services APIs to create, and then that can be reused in your GUI tests so that your test beds are set up. So that's going to be a lot of promise when you have an architecture which is componentized, and those integrated test beds can serve the purpose of a fully automated test coverage. And moving on in terms of test architecture, we see that it's going to be one test scripting language, which is definitely pointing towards the programming language, which is Java or C hash. So finally, we would have LeanFT address one platform, device, and browser test scripting language, so that it's easy to scale, easy to train your teams. So that's going to be a lot of advantage in terms of how you build your teams, and since it has the ability to use the native programming language, as the tools and technologies evolve in IoT, mobile, and microservices, probably we will have the right tool set to integrate tightly with the overall programming world. So those are some of the reasons we think why we should migrate to the LeanFT solution. So do you want to move to the next slide, please? And of course, looking at why we need to do that, if you really need to migrate to LeanFT, then there could be challenges and costs involved. One of them being you want to migrate the existing test suite, which is already created in the previous platform, and probably that's a solution which we could talk about. And since you also have the opportunity to create an enterprise-wide platform where you can allow collaboration between the dev, test, and ops, so that's something which you might want to invest in. And when you want to really do a change, and this is going to be a change which is going to impact all the stakeholders, so there could be a new operating model to be defined, the training done so that you operate in a uniform way, and all the collaboration tools which is needed so that the teams are productive enough. So these are some things which we have been doing in the past, and specifically in this session, what we will do is we will help you to understand how we could migrate your existing test suite via the QuickLean solution. Can you move to the next slide, please? So we just want to understand what type of automation framework do you use today. We'll give a couple of seconds. Okay, so we got for the hybrid framework greater than 60%, functional decomposition 30, and keyword driven is 10%. So go to the next slide, please, which is interesting. So the solution which we are talking about is QuickLean. It has definitive capability to migrate your current test automation scripts independent of which framework you have built in. It can migrate to different target languages, be it Java or C hash. It can support multiple technologies, and it can, if you have already an integrated suite which the test assets are in Quality Center or ALM, it can do that. We have seen multiple test teams use different object repository style like shared object repository or per action, so it can take care of all of that, and it can do multiple data sources as well. What we essentially help you do is accelerate the entire migration process via this framework which we have built, and that will help you to migrate seamlessly what's there in the target in terms of UFT to a LeanFT solution. And not only this, we also have set of libraries which come with this wherever we have found gaps in the current LeanFT solution in terms of data-driven or checkpoints. We help to build that solution out as part of the target language, and that's how we make it comprehensive enough for your teams to run, maintain, and execute once we transition. So we will dwell a little bit deeper in terms of what QuickLean has to offer. Can you go to next slide, please? So in terms of value proposition, we have built the QuickLean tool with close collaboration with HP R&D. So they have given enough insights for us to help build the solution out. And this is in terms of the solution, it's one of the first migration tool which could do that so comprehensively. It's also re-architected. So this is built on a platform which we had built on a tool called WinQuick, but completely re-architected for the current UFT to LeanFT conversion. So it generates a modular code base for you to maintain, and it also is a patent pending tool which will help us to improve in terms of the cost effectiveness, the speed at which it could do, and the effort it would take to get the solution out. Next slide, please. So in terms of the overall journey, we have a proven 4-phased approach where we help our clients to take the current test assets and migrate to the target solution. So in that, we first do the discovery, and then we plan, migrate, and validate. So most of these activities which you see, some of them are automated in the current solution. For example, once you give us the assets, we will be able to size and profile to understand what's the complexity, what's the framework, how much of manual steps we might have to end up doing after migration. So all that information is available, which we could do automated and analyze and then do our planning better. And once we understand, we agree the acceptance criteria, and then finally use the tool to migrate. We definitely see that there are areas where we will not be able to do a 100% automated way to do the migration. That would require some manual intervention, which we will talk about during the demo with an example. And once we are done with that, there could be a situation that your current assets are not in line with the application in a test. Probably they need some refactoring, and then we transition these scripts back to you so that you can maintain them going forward. So that's in broad how we manage to do the test asset migration. And not only this, while we do the migration, we also have considered how a LeanFT solution has to be built in terms of best practices. While the migration is being done, we also take care of the best practices, re-architect in such a way that your solution is scalable for future, maintainable for future. And that's why we help you move beyond just what's there in UFT, but help you modernize your test automation assets so that you can reuse for future releases, maintain it easily, and then create a reliable script so that that can be the foundation for future tests, which you would build on LeanFT. Can you go to next slide, please? So a poll question again. What would be your size of the current automation scripts? So 50% would be between 1,000 and 5,000, and then the other 30-40% is around 1,000. So go to the next slide, please. So when we were doing an internal analysis of how the solution would fare if we just have to do manually versus QuickLean, which is the automated solution, which you will see in a while how it does it. So we found that the more lines of code is there, the more ROI you would derive. So I call this 5, 10, and 15, which is like you will reduce your effort in terms of if you just have to do it manually. 10 times it's cost effective and 15 times faster. So this is what the quantitative numbers look like when we did a series of pilots with our own clients. And this is just the value proposition in terms of being cost effective, reduced effort, and making sure that you're able to deliver this migration much faster than you would have done it manually. But I did mention about how it can help you standardize your test suits. So, and it's going to be business as usual for you. So you don't have to worry about how should I transition the knowledge of how it is written in the current state. There could be multiple developers. So all of that is built as part of the QuickLean solution, which can analyze your test automation suite. We don't have to have deep knowledge about how this framework is built. The parser will take care of understanding and then transition to a code where it builds out the LeanFT solution. And finally, it's going to be business as usual, less management oversight as well. So not just the quantitative benefit, you will also have the qualitative benefits in terms of how you would jumpstart your test automation journey in the LeanFT platform. So moving on, go to the next slide. So these are some stats which we used to test our solution once we built it. So these are clients where we ran through the solution, the type of framework. You would see a percentage of automated conversion, which is there. I think during the demo we will specify one such example why probably not all of them can be converted, just because there is a chance that the way the whole programming is constructed from VB script to Java or VB script to C hash. So there are opportunities where complete automation is not possible, which will be eventually taken care of manually, and that is something which we have seen with our clients. So these are completely stats where we have run our POCs and pilots for our clients. Go to the next slide. So what we will do now is I'll get one of.
Hello everybody. Thank you, Rajesh. That was informative. And hi all, this is Moshe Dayan. I lead and represent the QuickLean R&D teams. And without much ado, let's get on with the demo. Okay, so to start with, obviously I will start my solution. So QuickLean, the world's first automated solution for UFT to LeanFT migration, and I quickly launched the application. So if you notice, this is the first transactional page, or the section of my solution where we provide multiple inputs which are part of my source. So the UI is basically divided into 3 sections. One is the section where I start providing the inputs, the sub-items, subsections of the inputs, the actual inputs in the middle, and it shows me the present location of the solution I am in, and also builder. So the story builder is basically what really happens out in each of these sections. So like Rajesh mentioned, we are looking at a demo where we will migrate UFT scripts into its LeanFT equivalents. But we will also be looking at a solution where we will provide a path for Selenium users also to move into LeanFT. So that's why you have that option as well here. But right now, let's focus on the UFT to LeanFT solution. So I've done the tool selection, and if you notice, it says UFT or QTP to LeanFT. At this point in time, I'd like to mention that this is UFT or QTP version agnostic. So irrespective of the type of versions in QTP or UFT you're using, you're good to go, and you should be able to convert those scripts into its LeanFT equivalents. The second section is the technology section, where you provide the add-ins in the UFT or HP terms. So based on the type of platform that the application under test has been built on, you get to select these. And for today's demo, we will use a simple web-based application. We will rather use the HP's provided flights application demo. Okay. Once you've done that, you move on to the second subsection in the source, which is providing the location of the script files. Now, the script files is a combination of your quick test functional libraries, your modular test suites, and your VBS scripts or TXT files, your TXT files could also be your reusable functions. So you provide a location, you provide a path to that. It could also be uploaded into your test map, ALM or QC, and it will automatically download those folders. It will do the same action as we see right now. So once you select the root folder, you have a list of all the QFL files, the NTS files, the VBS and TXT files that are listed. You could select what you want to convert and then move on. So you notice that we've selected 5 files. Of these 5, 3 are MTS files and then 2 are QFL files. So once you move on to the third subsection in the source, which is the object repository files. Like Rajesh mentioned, we convert shared and local repositories in here. In this demo, we'll focus on shared repositories alone. You could also skip because if your source does not use object repositories and is purely descriptive in manner, then that is a reason for you to skip the object repository files conversion. Okay, this is the first page, the first section of the target part of the solution. So here we provide the project name in C#. We will provide a project name which basically acts as the namespace for the solution. So I'll give a sample project name. It provides an input, an output location. This is the location where all your output scripts are saved, the migrated scripts are saved. And the third one is the object reference model. Now, LeanFT basically comes in 2 flavors. In terms of how it handles your objects and their references. The application model is the same as what we had in UFT, the object repository. but from a C# or a Java perspective, it is represented in a slightly different manner, and they are called application models. Descriptive model is basically having the descriptions of the objects embedded within your script, and it's the same as we've seen in the years go by. So once we pass that, we go to the second one, which is the third one, which is the target framework. Like Rajesh mentioned, we have two flavors that you could select from in terms of languages that you want LeanFT to convert. LeanFT to be scripted in. It could be C# or Java, and each of it has its own frameworks that it also supports. This is not the exhaustive list of frameworks. You could have your own customized framework as well, and we could help build those framework related templates for you. So once you go past this, you're done with actually providing all the inputs. You're actually ready to convert. But just before converting, you might want to make a quick stopgap check just to make sure that you have provided all the required data that you have done, and make sure that you're really ready to go with the conversion. So the scripts that you see, each of those three different scripts that we selected during the script selection, the libraries or the QFL files, the object repositories, and its details in terms of what needs to be done. So once you're through, we are good to go, and there we are. So the actual migration process is a two-step process, which is basically a pre-processing and the actual migration process. The pre-processing is basically getting ready to do the migration, making sure there's enough space, and then UFT has a MTS to TSR or script to object repository mapping. So these mappings are obtained during the pre-processing, and once that is done, we get on to the actual migration. There you are. So we're done with the migration. We basically took some simple migration UFT scripts to migrate. Like I mentioned, these are built on the Mercury HP's sample flights application. Okay, so you see the actual report. This is the summary report that we generate, and basically the actual details of the input parameters that has been provided, the number of seconds or the time that it took for the actual migration to be completed, and then each of these different files that has been converted. So let's take one of these examples to see what can be done. Excuse me. So in this particular example of this script, you see the actual input script, which is the VB script, has been converted into its equivalent output C# script. Okay. And if there are any warnings, it will be listed out here. And if there are errors that it could not find or make as part of a migration, then they will be listed out here. So basically making life easier with not just migrating and leaving things to you to find out what needs to be done and where manual intervention needs to be done. So it goes a step ahead and then provides those details and helps you migrate from at 100% level with minimal effort from the user. Okay. So let's quickly move on to looking at what really what is our output. So you see, this is the actual test project that we created. This is the solution file that has been created. I launch it, and then we have the entire solution launched in Visual Studio. There you are. So this is the script. These are the other files that have been converted. So you look at it, it basically uses an application model based script. We'll quickly get into seeing how the application model is built here in LeanFT. Seems good to me. So let's take a look at how a LeanFT application model looks like. So pretty similar to what a TSR looks like. So it has a web table. What are the properties that it uses to identify it? So on and so forth. Okay, that's how an application model looks like. So let's maybe execute and see how it runs when we run our script, our migrated script. Shouldn't take much time. So basically doing a user registration, and once the user registered, it logs in as that user and then books a ticket, a round trip ticket for two between two different destinations, does the payment, and then checks out. There you are. So we have the application, we have the UFT script that has been migrated to LeanFT in C#, and we are now ready. We have executed it, and we're good to go with using LeanFT in this. That's pretty much what I had for the demo, and I'd like to hand over the session to Rajesh. Thanks, Rajesh, for the time, and it's all yours now.
Okay, thanks, Moshe. I think we have a couple of questions as well. Just hold on for a second. Trying to. Okay, so the first question which I had is around is LeanFT only C# and Java? So it's both. Currently, it supports both C# and Java. Probably in future they might support some more. Does LeanFT execute out of Visual Studio like the demo? Yes, that's how it is. LeanFT executes like you just saw, and that's also the reason why we spoke about how it's going to be completely different from the UFT world, where your scripts are in a native IDE which the developers have been using it for all the while, and that will give the synergies in terms of reuse of test assets which are getting created on the test side as well as the dev side, and how you would call different layers. So there's a lot of synergy which we see which will happen using this. So in terms of what we had, I think that in terms of the demo, we had this done, and if you have specific questions, please type into the window. I would start answering each one of them. Just to recap before we go to the questions, so it's from a Gallop standpoint over the last 10 years, we had expertise to build similar tools. WinQuick was one of them, close to 10 years of partnership with HP, and WinQuick was a endorsed solution from HP, and we had done 100 such migrations. QuickLean is the latest kid on the block, but completely re-architected from where we had from a WinQuick standpoint, but still we understand, we have been there, done that in terms of the overall solution, and a lot of Fortune 500 clients we have worked with who have endorsed our work when we did for WinQuick. So going on to the next slide. So I think if you need more information, we have a dedicated website which you can go and access. There are a lot of content. We also have rich content in terms of LeanFT as well as we build on based on our experience. So that's from an information standpoint. So if you move on to the next slide. Once we are done with this, I think we will take on the questions. So when are you considering to implement LeanFT? So it looks like in about 3 months we would have a lot of people, at least 30% of users might consider. So I think that's a fair enough number. So what I will do is there are multiple questions which have come up here. I will start answering all of them. So the question is, what if we have scripts using object repository and descriptive programming? Yes, we'll be able to handle that. Those scripts need to be independently fed and then saved in a session, so you will be able to do that. So not in one session, but it needs to be handled in multiple sessions. And so that's how we would handle it. So there is no constraint that that the entire test suite needs to be in one way. So is there a record and playback feature to LeanFT? So since it's a developer-oriented tool, in the current version, HP has not provided the record and playback. Okay, can you show the LeanFT and open a script in LeanFT? I think we will do that a little bit later. I'll come back to that. I'll have to pass on the control to Moshe to do that. Give me a second. We'll finish the other questions. LeanFT only converts VB script to C# and Java only. What about other languages? So the solution which you see is not LeanFT, but the solution which you are seeing is QuickLean, which is on top of our own architecture. So LeanFT is the test tool which you are talking about, so it needs to be compared with UFT. So currently the support is C# and Java. We understand that there could be more support coming in terms of other languages, but for the current release, the focus is on C# and Java. Why would you want to convert an entire UFT suite to LeanFT if we are only using a small set of tests? Why not just convert those? So again, it depends on how this is currently architected, whether you want to use the UFT suite to LeanFT so that you are able to run integrated and then build upon. Again, it's all specific to the situation you are talking about, and unless there is a business case, you would not invest. So if it's going to be like, even in the ROI which we talked about, the more test suite which you have and you want to integrate with the overall enterprise framework, which you now will have the capability to do that, probably that would mean a better business case. And talking about the learning curve and script creation, definitely there are going to be a learning curve where you would see what we are talking about is a DevOps scenario or an agile team where you have a lot of SDETs, where the test engineers are technically equipped to write programming in the native language. So even if you see from a positioning standpoint, we have seen HP still living with UFT for non-programming testers and still allowing you the flexibility to have a solution where in agile teams you have testers who are capable of programming, and that would mean a lot of power just beyond the non-programming testing folks who know only UFT. Hopefully that answers the question. So this is an interesting one. So the conversion uses a QuickLean library. Will I be dependent on QuickLean for as long as I want to use this tests? So the answer is no. What we will do is we will give you the entire library stack. So we have built our own library, which will, for example, help you do a data-driven much easier. If you have to do all that manually, then you have to write your own library. So when we convert from the UFT to target LeanFT, the libraries which will be part of the migration will be packaged and part of the transition which we would do. Is QuickLean a one-time cost or a yearly fee? Okay, that's also an interesting question. So QuickLean, if I have to say, probably it's a one-time cost. So we are not positioning QuickLean as a tool which will be used like a licensing tool, which we would give it to you and then you need to migrate. QuickLean is more an enabler to allow us to do the service. So the way the model would work for us is you would have, say, 1,000 scripts to migrate, and then if there are two ways to do that. One, go manually migrate this scripts. What we are doing right now is getting you an automated solution which will help you to accelerate. And once we migrate the scripts, we will run the tests and help you certify that these tests are running in your target environment in LeanFT. So it's more a service. You don't have to buy the tool. So it's just one time, and the QuickLean will not be used by your teams. It's just going to be used by our teams to migrate, and that solution will be given back to you. And if you are definitely interested to do a pilot with us, please do write to us, and then we'll be able to help you do the pilot. So the next question is, can mouse moves be correctly migrated from VB script to C# and Java? So in terms of the corresponding APIs, the mouse moves, if there are, I'm assuming these are UFT APIs, so they will have their corresponding LeanFT APIs, and that's how it's handled. So there's a mapping there which will help you achieve that. So I think this is a repeat question about descriptive programming vis-a-vis can I migrate the descriptive programming plus the object repository. So if you have a script, if you have a test suite which is a mix of object repository and descriptive programming, so inside the tool you have to do it. If I have to take a layer managed view, you have to do the conversion 2 times. And if the question was, if in the same script, if there is, some of them are object repositories, some of them are basically descriptive programming, the QuickLean tool will understand that and then migrate the solution. Okay, so question from Prakash, what about scripts which are in HP ALM? So yes, the way it is handled currently is QuickLean has utilities which can get you the solution from HP ALM to the local, migrate it, and then push them back to ALM. That's how it is designed. So do you have a mapping between assets of UFT to LeanFT in your websites? So I'm not very clear about this question. So can you elaborate, please? What is the license model? So as I said, there is no licensing which is going to be part of the solution. It will be a service which is going to be rendered. What the QuickLean solution will help you do is do an accelerated migration for you. And since we have been experts in this area of migrating the test assets from one test tool to the other, like we did in WinQuick, we have all the capability to help you migrate smoothly. So it's going to be a service rather than a license model. So do you support BPT scripts to convert? Currently, I would say no. We haven't tested, but I don't see a reason why we wouldn't be able to do that if it's a QTP script or a scripted component. But if it's completely a keyword component, then we have not done that yet in terms of support. So the next question from Srinath, can we convert descriptive programming to Java in IDE? So a little bit, probably I need a little bit clarity. So I'm assuming you're asking, we have done a descriptive programming in UFT, and that needs to be the target language which needs to be converted is Java, and the IDE probably is Eclipse. So yeah, that's possible. So again, how much is the approximate cost for QuickLean? Frequently asked question. Like I said, we don't sell this QuickLean outside. What we will help you do is we will say, okay, there are 100 scripts to be converted, and then we use this. So we'll put an estimate together what the 100 scripts migration would be. We will use this tool, get it migrated completely, and then hand it over to you. So QuickLean is not going to be installed, configured in your environment. It's not like a test tool which needs to be configured. So it's more a service which we will have to. So does it support mobile application scripts? In terms of the ability, yes, but we are still doing the upgrades to make it support. So could you please tell me one license cost for LeanFT? We will send that. So if you, just to give you a little bit more background, if you have an UFT solution 12.5, you can swap it with a LeanFT license as well. So, but the details I think you need to go to HP. Is LeanFT a solution for automation tester community who know both QTP and Selenium? So I think it's beyond that. Of course, knowing Selenium, probably you have the flexibility to understand how a programming person would construct his test automation suite. Selenium probably is limited by, from a web technology standpoint. LeanFT probably would go beyond it in terms of its support, in terms of Windows and all other platforms which probably UFT would have done, so that your enterprise-wide applications can also get addressed. So yeah, at the moment, probably if you just take a web view, probably it's close to Selenium. But then once the multiple releases come into play, and even in the current case, the support for other platforms are there, it is slightly differentiated when you compare head to head in terms of Selenium versus LeanFT. So I think these are some of the questions which are in the panel. And I think we had one question where I said I will take it later. I thought someone wanted to see the LeanFT script once more, so give me a couple of seconds. I'm trying to go back. Can you retype the question, please? I'm not able to find the question in the list of questions which are there. Whoever wanted to see the LeanFT.
Rajesh?
Yeah, there was a question on bringing
the question is more about taking a look at a LeanFT script in LeanFT. So I've asked to be made the presenter so I can show that. Answer
yeah,
the question.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Rajesh. So the question was more around taking a look at the script in LeanFT and also looking at LeanFT. So LeanFT is basically a plugin, if we can call it that. It is a plugin cum solution, functional test solution, which sits on the IDE that you want it to. So in our case, LeanFT is a plugin. In this particular demo, LeanFT is a plugin which sits on top of Visual Studio. So if you notice, I have Visual Studio displayed in here, and then once you have LeanFT, it adds a menu option into its setup. So it has its object identification, a couple of tools. You want to disable it, the help center, and the SDK reference. So basically, it's not very different. The only difference that you would have between a simple out-of-the-box C# script versus a LeanFT script is these extensions that are being used. So you use the LeanFT SDK, LeanFT SDK Web, or the various SDKs that are provided by LeanFT in a LeanFT script, as against a vanilla C# script. So this is what you actually see is LeanFT, and the script that you see is a LeanFT script. It is very similar to a C# script with the examples of with these two extensions being added. So we also have a couple of questions that are pouring in now, and I believe the question, this answers the question that was posted some time ago. So with that, I can hand over.
Yeah, thank you, Moshe. Thank you, Rajesh. It was a really insightful webinar today. And we are seeing a couple of more questions coming in. And since we are running out of time, what we would request everyone to do is you can email us at QuickLean@Gallop.net. And all the questions we'll be answering and responding back to you. In addition to that, I would like to also share that we have built a QuickLean and LeanFT community in LinkedIn. So if you search for QuickLean in LinkedIn, you will come across the group, and you can definitely join in there for discussions. In addition, we are also coming up with a series of informative videos on LeanFT, which we'll be making them live in a couple of days from now. We have already started. We started getting a lot of responses from people who wanted to understand LeanFT more, so we are recording a lot of LeanFT related videos. So that is also something which is coming up. To stay updated on about LeanFT and to know what more updates we are bringing into QuickLean, I would request that you can go on to quick-lean.com and then you can subscribe for our newsletters as well. If you happen to be in Philadelphia, then it would be great if you can come over to our meetup. We are going to conduct a meetup in Philly recently in the coming month in September, towards the end of September or towards early part of October. We also have a meetup group. If you are interested to know more about the meetup or to attend it, if you can send out an email to QuickLean@Gallop.net, that is also something which we could facilitate. So thank you so much, everyone, for this joining this webinar, and I hope it was an insightful webinar for all of you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.